ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to iSoCIAL's legendary hats of 10 like-minded people and 10 experts. So today we're discussing hack number 2, which is Internet of Things, IoT product development. So this is powered by SmartechLabs and Digitally Next. I have with me Nalin and I'm Nishant, and we're going to be talking about Internet of Things. So fundamentally, the reason why we're talking about IoT today is it's such a buzzword out there and everyone's heard it, but no one really knows what it means. So before we even get to IoT, I think we're going to go down to what is internet. So let's just talk about how you guys got here. So you clicked on a YouTube link which was on your Facebook profile or on your WhatsApp, and you reached somewhere here, and this has been recorded by a mobile phone going through your camera, and all of this is done on the internet. So this is IoT, and a lot of you are probably using IoT, but you don't really know that you are. So internet is basically a global network which helps you to communicate information from one point to another, and transmitting information using the internet to a device would probably be Internet of Things. So Internet of Things is changing the lives around us, right from our everyday morning when we wake up, and we can probably walk up to a machine, coffee machine, and actually tell it to make coffee, which would be a voice recognition. After that, when we wake up, imagine because of the sensors that there are in the lights, it will automatically blow up as soon as we walk the road. Now, right after that, maybe when you sit on your couch, the TV opens and the news channel plays. All of this is IoT. Even after that, when you take a car, maybe there'll be driverless cars which will have sensors to sense the road. You already use Uber. The Google Maps probably takes you through the least congested area and walks you there. I came by metro, so I used my metro card and recharged it using Paytm, and then I just swiped it at the counter and the gates just opened. So this is IoT in our daily lives, and I'd just like to bring in one fact. Why is IoT so important? Why are we discussing it here today? So according to IDC, the IoT worldwide market will grow to around $7.1 trillion by 2020 as compared to $1.9 trillion in 2013. That's 7 times as fast as IoT is growing now. So I think all of us have discussed and got to know about something about IoT, but where did this term come from? So Nalin, can you enlighten our viewers today? How did this Internet of Things really come into being?
Yes, absolutely. I think now people have started to understand the value of IoT and Internet of Things, and it's become a buzzword as of now. But the phrase Internet of Things was coined back way in 1999 at the Auto ID Center at MIT. So back then there used to be retail stores and there used to be items kept on shelves, but it became very, very difficult to track the inventory of these items and also the amount of items sold. So somebody that back then came up with the idea of putting an RFID tag on each of these items. So this RFID tag essentially had a sensor installed which could keep a track of inventory as well as the number of items sold. So now that we have actually talked about the background of IoT, we will actually like to define IoT.
So if I read out the definition of what IoT really is, it would be something like this. Internet of Things is a network of physically embedded objects, electronics, which will go on to software, sensors, and network connectivity. That might sound really complicated to you, but what it really is for example, I'm wearing a Fitbit today. So there's just a sensor on my hand right now, which will sense my pulse, or it may sense my number of steps, and then it will give this data, which is collecting from my movement, my sort of pulse, and then it will send it to the internet. And when I sync it with my mobile phone, my device, the app will tell me exactly how I have performed today, have I got more fitter today, and that's how everyday life Internet of Things is defined as. So now what we could talk about is, for example, I mentioned one device, which could be a mobile, it could be a Fitbit. Maybe we could talk about the more devices that are surrounding us, which probably are connected to the device, to the cloud.
Yes, there are a huge number of devices that IoT is connected with. But before that, I would also tell there's a lot of corporates, a lot of big, huge companies, and even SMEs who have realized the potential of IoT. So Gartner as a company says that there will be 26 billion connected devices by 2020. Cisco says there will be 50 billion devices connected. On the other hand, Intel says there will be 200 billion. Now, that's a big number. The Internet of Things consists of various devices ranging from personal, household, public, business, as well as industrial spaces. And in future, it will expand to many undiscovered areas. The smart gadgets that many of us see and interact with daily are our internet-connected smartphones, which have sensors including GPS and sometimes heart rate monitors. But those are just the tip of the iceberg. In the personal space, IoT comprises of wearable devices such as fitness trackers Nishant talked about and heart monitors that use our smartphones to receive and send data. Now this data is sent at the cloud. We already have cameras that takes pictures and sends it to internet. You have Facebook Live, you have Google Hangouts. These are the kind of opportunities available in IoT. So now we'd like to talk about the elements of IoT.
Right. So let's break down IoT more in like a basic language that all of us would understand. So what is the start point of IoT? Where does this all begin? So it has to begin with something that senses a physical object that might sense. For example, now I have this Fitbit. Now it's actually sending a small signals to my pulse and then it's collecting this data. So, or it could be maybe, light is falling on, I'm sure you guys have used your mobile phones and when you talk on it and, the screen suddenly, it minimizes. And when you see, move it away from your phone, you could actually see that, who's calling, what's happening. So there is a sensor on your mobile phone where when you keep it next to your ear, the screen goes off. Thereby, it's maximizing efficiency, and there are chances that we might, it might, since all of our body is capacitive, it might just hit somewhere and something might happen. So all of these are called sensors, where they sort of sense the kind of data, be it light, temperature, pulse, or anything. That's the start point. That's your element number one, fundamental, which is a sensor, a hardware.
Now after sensing, there's one important aspect, it's called communication. Now many IoT devices we are seeing today are not designed for optimal communication. The devices cannot directly communicate with the servers. So for example, if you're wearing a fitness tracker, it has a sensor installed. It has to be connected to some kind of a Wi-Fi or a Bluetooth or through your smartphone, where essentially there will be a mobile application where you can actually send and receive data and you can view the data. So for example, like I said, Bluetooth is one of the best examples that can be used. You have GPSs installed in cars, automobiles, which sends and receives data from the cloud, and that's where the communication part is done.
Absolutely. So now that we have collected data from our sensors, and now that you recently told us that this data is communicated to us using devices such as mobiles, right? So how does this transmission of information happen? He said it could be either Bluetooth, it could either be GPS or anything. But it has to, now this data, how does it get to us? How are you watching us? That's called internet. So there is something called cloud, which is like what cloud is. The internet is basically the place where all of this data is collected and transmitted to various devices. Right.
Correct. So the last we'll talk about is called delivery of information. That's the final step where the delivery of useful information happens to the user. So for example, you have a Fitbit on your wrist. It senses the number of steps you traveled in a day, and that data is sent to the cloud. It's delivered. That information is delivered to the cloud, and that's where you see it on your mobile app, and you receive how many calories have you burned and what's the kind of fitness rate which is going on.
Right, so this is how the whole flowchart really happens, and it's really simple, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sensors collects the data, moves to the internet, and then through that goes to the device, and that's where you can view it. Right. So now what we could actually talk about. Now there are different kind of questions that we are asked by us. This is what IoT is, but I'm in the industry where I'm just dealing with I'm a retail seller. Why do I need IoT? Or someone might say that I do a business which is related to manufacturing. Why do I need internet? Or very generically, a lot of people say we have a business, and how do we grow? And how do we maximize, increase our efficiency using IoT? So good thing is that there is awareness about IoT. but really sad that not many people know about what it could do. So what we can actually talk about and tell our viewers today is the various kind of devices which are virtually used to connect to us. For example, we could talk about RFIDs. So the basic example of RFID would be our metro card. So that would probably have an RFID chip. The moment I sort of put it to the metro sort of gate, it opens up. That's an RFID. Then there are different kind of sensors which would basically be collecting your data and processing it. They could be a smart tech which are basically are related to power. So for example, I just gave you a beautiful example where I'm walking, I just woke up at night maybe and I have to walk to my gate. The lights would automatically, open up as I'm stepping forward, and as soon as I'm done with it, the lights would close. Thereby, efficiency of energy would come into picture. Now there are also ways where, let's talk about healthcare, where I'm a diabetic patient, and the one most nagging thing really for a diabetic patient, or the most critical thing would be when do they take their insulin. So now what is starting to happen, there are really small devices that could be probably put in your body, and the moment that the sensors sort of sense that the insulin levels are going down, they would just pump in the insulin. So there are various different kind of ways that this can be used in our daily lives. You could elaborate more on that actually.
So when we think of IoT, we believe it's a relatively new term, but the technology behind IoT has been going around for a while now. We have been living in the computer age since the 20th century. It wasn't until the World Wide Web was there in 1991 when a lot of people began hopping online and they understood the power of internet. The web became vast, and soon high-speed internet entered our household along with wireless networking present everywhere. Smartphones have become a commodity these days, and devices are connected all over the world through Wi-Fi, cellular network, as well as Bluetooth.
Right. Alright, so we have probably given our viewers a lot of insight about how what IoT is and how can they use it, and of course the elements of IoT. So everyone is pretty much familiar with the terminologies of what IoT would probably have. But let's talk about different kind of industries that where we could be applying IoT. Of course, we could probably deep dive on it in our next session, but today we can probably give you an overview about the different industries and how they're using it. So maybe now you can begin with the applications of what IoT has in different kind of industries.
Yes, there are various applications, but as of now, we're not going to deep dive into these sectors. So one of the major common used application of IoT is smart homes. So now, with IoT creating the buzz, smart home is the most searched IoT segment on Google right now. People want to know how, okay, for example, you wake up in the morning and you see your curtains coming up. You wake up in the morning and you just say, hey, I want some coffee, and your coffee is delivered to you. But right now we cannot imagine those things, but with Internet of Things, these things are coming into the picture. Countries like USA, California, a lot of research is being going on in this sector to make, to embed home automation.
Right, I think let's talk about the government of India as well, our Prime Minister Modi ji. So we recently are going through a digital revolution with the Digital India, and of course with demonetization, all the financial sort of pulse of India, which is more than 70-80% on driven on cash. So with demonetization, all of this has been disrupted, and we've got payment gateways, we've got payment banks, we've got our mobile phones where we can use, I remember back old days, where there used to be lines in banks. Now no one even goes to the banks. I use an application, I have UPI, I have Bheem app, and I can just wirelessly transfer my money to anyone, anywhere. So another example apart from finance I would like to give is to retailers. Now, I think when there was IoT, when there was an IT boom in the country, for about 20-30 years, what we used to talk about, how is it going to help the retailers, the average Indian middle class people or the retailers, how they buy, how they sell. So, very significant disruption has also taken place already using your IoT, using your phones in terms of paying. Now let's talk about grocery. Now I remember my mother used to tell me go get that 2 kilo pyaz, 2 kilo aloo, all of that. But now all she does is just opens her mobile phone and say just wears her small specs and just goes to Grofers and orders her vegetables or this big basket. So on an everyday life, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we couldn't have imagined the kind of possibilities that there would be, but right now they're just tremendous. talking about stores, I'd just like to sort of ask the viewers to check out a video on Amazon store, Amazon Pro, where you can just walk in to a store and just pick, whatever you want, scan the QR code, get to know, what are the different kind of ingredients or what are the different kind of nutrition values, pay the price via your mobile phone and just walk out wirelessly. Yeah, so you can talk about more as well.
So I'll talk about more of connected cars. So the automotive digital technology has focused on optimizing vehicle internal functions. But as of now, the attention is growing towards enhancing the in-car experience. So connected car. Now what is a connected car? A connected car is a vehicle which is able to optimize its own operations, maintenance, as well as comfort of passengers, as well as the temperature. So most large automakers as well as some brave startups are working on connected car solutions. I'm sure everyone has heard brands like Tesla, BMW, even Apple and Google are working on bringing the next generation of automobiles and making smart cars.
Right. And surely, with all these smart cars and everything happening, the entire global world, is becoming, smart. So that's where the terminology of smart also comes from, basically. And let's talk about smart cities. And I just discussed that how our government is taking initiatives to digitalize the whole economy, to sort of get people online. And probably, let's say, the government says that in the next 5 years, they're going to be making 100 smart cities every single 5 years. Now that's a big claim, and not only that, they've even gone on to invest $1 billion into the Indian smart city projects.
So now we'll talk about more about industrial internet. Now industrial internet is a new buzz in the industrial sector, which we call IIoT, the Industrial Internet of Things. Now it's empowering industrial engineering with sensors, software, and even big data analytics. So what is big data exactly? So basically when you have billions of devices connected, there's a lot of communication via data. So this data is in its raw form, and due to the billions of devices, there's huge volumes of data which need to be analyzed. So according to Jeff Immelt, the CEO of GE Electric, IIoT is a beautiful, desirable, and an investable asset as of now. The driving philosophy behind this industrial Internet of Things is that smart machines are more accurate, consistent than humans in communicating through data. It solves the basic problems and enables automation in various sectors. And this data can basically help company pick inefficiencies and problems sooner.
Right. Another really important thing would be healthcare. Now, in a country like India, where generally the belief is that whenever you have like a disease or a problem, that is where you go visit a doctor. But I think gradually the whole understanding and awareness of the Indian society is also changing, rather influenced by global, which is preventive health. Now, what this Fitbit is, it's a wearable device. I can track my fitness, I can track how good my BP is, and over time I can have an analysis about how my health would be. Now, healthcare and IoT have been little, let's call it the sleeping giant in the industry right now. But over the next 4 or 5 years, the tremendous growth and massive growth and disruption in this industry is planned.
So another important aspect we can talk about is called smart cities. So smart city is another powerful application of IoT as of now. Smart surveillance, automated transformation, smarter energy management systems, also water distribution, urban security, and environmental monitoring are all examples of Internet of Things for applications in smart cities.
Just to give our viewers a couple of facts that apart from the IoT industry growing 7 times only in the last 4 years, which is from 1.9 trillion to 7.1 trillion dollars, there's also been over $1 billion which has been invested by global industries into just making their organization, their processes, their manufacturing, their operations more efficient, more economical by integrating IoT into it.
So I'll also talk about energy management. So power grids of the future will not only be smart enough but also highly reliable. Now smart grid concept is becoming very, very popular all across the world. Now I can talk a lot about smart grid, but these applications, just to give you an idea of what the applications of IoT are. So the basic idea behind the smart grid is to collect data in an automated fashion and analyze the behavior or electricity consumers and suppliers for improving efficiency as well as economics of electricity use.
Right. Now, I think a lot of our viewers out there, they must be students. They might be, industrial sort of people who work in industries or running these industries. People who are curious to know about what IoT is. A lot of them, I'm expecting, do not know about the whole technology or the technical aspects of it. But I think a lot of people would want to know today that how does this affect their lives? How can they make a career in it? What are the different kind of business opportunities that these industries or these companies or MNCs would have? Or let's say there are a lot of different kind of startups that have come up today, and there are a lot of different kind of young and energetic people who are looking for problems and solving problems using an IoT. So talking more about that, I think we're going to go there in deep sort of dive into it in our next upcoming sessions. Today we just want to sort of give you an awareness, me and Nalan, into how IoT is going to change the way that we live in and the different kind of opportunities that there are going to be. And just to sort of conclude, just like how IoT was 20-30 years ago, IoT is going to be more than IT, and even more than e-commerce is going to be the next big thing. And just before we leave, I would also like to sort of discuss an application that we made, using IoT, just to sort of give you our personal experience into how this was done. So the problems that we were facing in our residential society was that we didn't know how to pay the bills. We had to go to the maintenance office, and it's really painful because most of the people are either, they have a lunch break most of the time, or they're not open. Going there, checking how much do we have to pay, going there, writing a check, giving it to these people, and then asking them on call, Bhaiya, receipt mil gaya kya? So stuff like that. Now we decided that, we do have resources available to us. We can build a product where people can check their maintenance bills and pay these maintenance bills online. Now there's a plumber or a carpenter. I think my mom really has a problem with that. She has to call a plumber. Nothing now. All we need to do is sort of give a sort of request that we need a plumber at this house, and all of it is tracked using your mobile application. You can probably talk more about our application.
So basically, we came up with the idea. It was called SmartTech Society. So we came up with the idea. We thought that if you're living in a society, a simple thing as viewing your bill online, it was not available. So if you want to check what is our maintenance bill, we had to go to the office, and they used to check with the papers and stuff. So we thought, why not build a mobile application where you could simply pay the bills online, you could view the bills online. And
there are forums and different kind of notices. So basically, all of the processes that we could find were a pain point for our were manual, which could have been automated using technology. We went ahead and changed that, and this is a small way that we've sort of taken an IoT sort of problem statement and made it into a solution for everyone, very easy. So now next session, what does the next session hold for us is we're going to be talking more into the career aspects, specifically like Nalan said, that there's big data, there is data scientists and different kind of things that could be done. We're going to talk and learn more about that, the different opportunities for businessmen, for startups, and all of that we're going to discuss. How much funding is there, from the industries, from the MNCs, and just like I said, the government, they're heavily banking upon this industry to go ahead and do this. So thank you guys for staying, tuned to our session today. And in conclusion, I'd like you to say that IoT is definitely going to affect your life, you like it or not. Best to adapt to something which is upcoming and sort of deep dive into it. Because you're going to play a role in it. Either you're going to be working in it, either you're going to be a consumer of it, or maybe you even start something in it. So thank you so much for joining us today, and it's a goodbye from us.